everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to start off by jumping right into my favorite part of the show, Gun Talk. And in Gun Talk today, we're going to answer a question from a viewer that came into me. And, not a viewer that came into me. A question that came into me recently from a viewer. The question didn't come into me. You know what I'm talking about. And that question was, what gun that has been discontinued for one reason or another, just the company decided not to make it anymore, they went out of business or whatever, what gun that's been discontinued do I think should still be being made if I got to choose one? Well, instead of choosing one, I thought, well, why don't I make this into a top 5 list? We haven't done a top 5 list for a while. So today I'm going to do my top 5 guns that have been discontinued for one reason or another that I think should still be being made. And we'll start off here with number 5. All right, at number 5, we have a little 9mm pistol that, in my opinion, was one of the best micro 9mm ever made and kind of ahead of its time. And that was the Rohrbal R9S. Now, the Rohrbal R9S was discontinued, I think, because the company either went out of business or they sold out their business, whatever. But Remington actually bought the design for this gun and they produced it in a 380. But it was the 9mm version that was so great. The 380 version is good too, but the 9mm version was just awesome. Now, a lot of people just know the gun as the R9, but it was an R9S that had the sights on it. And most of the people that know this gun know the one that has the sights. It's got sights actually built into the frame, part of the, built into the slide, actually part of the slide. And that's what the S is for, sights, because the first ones didn't have any sights. They were much more like a C-Camp. And this is much like a blown up C-Camp, just bigger than a C-Camp, but still very similar in looks, design, and ease of carry, etc. Except it's a slightly bigger gun, and it came in 9mm. Now, the original ones even came with carbon fiber grips, which were very nice. And those became actually very expensive if you tried to seek them out on the secondary market after the gun came out. But this gun was just awesome. Like I said, it was way ahead of its time with all the micro guns that came out afterwards. This gun was just something you could easily put in a wallet holster and stick in your back pocket, and no one would even know you were carrying. It was so small. It was very much like a Rohrbal. It was, very much like a C-Camp in that it was a double action only, hammer-fired gun, but like I said, 9mm and very easy to carry and conceal. This was like the perfect up-close belly gun when you didn't want anyone to even be able to tell you were carrying a gun. And like I said, they quit making it because they either went out of business or sold out or something, but Remington's making the 38 version, the 380 version now, but it's just not the same. So the number 5 gun that I wish was still being made that has been discontinued for one reason or another is the Rohrbal R9S. All right, at number 4, we have kind of a sad story because it was an up-and-coming gun company that had come up with what I thought was a really nice gun, but things just didn't work out, and it is the Hudson H9. Now, this gun was awesome. I thought this gun blended sci-fi fantasy with a 1911. It was just an incredible looking gun. And it had such a low bore axis because all of that recoil assembly was in front of the trigger guard, which is what also gave it that kind of sci-fi look. So this gun was just something I looked forward to from the day I saw it in its early stages of development till the day it finally came out. Unfortunately, it came out with 1 or 2 issues that people didn't like, and they had done a couple of things wrong with this gun. For one, they rushed it to market. When I first saw them at SHOT Show, I was like, wow, when are these going to be available? 2, 3, 4 years? And they're like, no, we hope to have these out by next year. I was like, ooh, that's going to be a little quick, don't you think? But they were determined they were going to do it that fast. And because they did, they put it out, and I think it was probably 98% there when they put it out. But that other 2%, some people wanted. And they listened. This was another mistake they made. They listened. And they said, well, the next model coming out is going to have that extra 2%. Well, that made everybody that was going to buy one go, well, then I'm going to wait for the next model. And they couldn't sell any of the ones they put out at first, and they went bankrupt. But this gun was so awesome. Like I said, it blended all the things I like about a 1911, but it was double stack, had that low bore axis, had that futuristic look. I mean, it was just an awesome gun. It had different options. You can order it in different configurations, but it was just amazing. I really had such high hopes for this, but, you know, a fickle market and some, you know, a little bit of rush in it, I think a little bit of overzealousness on the part of the manufacturer caused this gun to die in its crib, basically, which is a shame because this gun, I think, had so much potential, and we'll just never know. But that right there is the number 4 gun that has been discontinued or is no longer made for one reason or another that I wish was still being made, and it is the Hudson H9. All right, at number 3 on the list is a gun that I actually own, and I do love it. And I think it's one of the most underrated carry guns on the market. It is the Sig Sauer P239. Now, the Sig Sauer P239 is basically a smaller single stack version of like the P228. And because it is a little smaller, it's great for carry. But because it's not a tiny gun, like some of the Micro 9s, it still handles recoil very well. It's a gun that pretty much anyone from an 8-year-old to a granny can carry and shoot. Well, not that I should say 8-year-olds should carry, but they can shoot it. I'm not quite that pro gun that I think 8-year-olds should be packing heat, but I think you understand what I'm saying here. Just a really easy to control gun, a good quality gun. It was not a bad looking gun either. They stopped making it because they replaced it with the P225, but the P225 just doesn't fill the niche like I feel the 239 did. And plus, the 225 I do not believe is available in 40, whereas the 239 was 9mm or 40, and you get 357 SIG barrels for it. So a lot of versatility in a relatively small gun that could still be handled easily by pretty much anyone. I think discontinuing this gun was a bad choice by Sig, but Sig makes a lot of bad choices. Have you seen some of the finishes they put on some of their guns? Sig has never met a mistake they don't like. Let me just say that. They make some great guns, but you got to sort through to get the great ones. But that's a shame that it's gone because, like I said, I think it is a great gun. I think it never came into its own as a carry gun. It might not do as well in today's market with all the double stack small 9s, but I think if most people would actually shoot it, they'd understand why it's such a great gun. So on this list of guns that are no longer in production for one reason or another that I wish would come back or were still being made, the Sig Sauer P239 is number 3. All right, everybody. At number 2 on the list is a gun I don't think is going to surprise anyone. I've spoken about this gun many times in the past, how much I like it and how sad I was when it got discontinued. And it is the Walther P99 AS. And what the Walther P99 AS is, it is the anti-stress trigger. And what makes it special is that not only is it a striker-fired gun that you can cock, and it'll be in basically like a light double-action, single-action type of pull, like most striker-fireds are, but you can also decock it if you didn't want to carry it with the light trigger. That's where it's anti-stress. You don't have the stress of carrying that light trigger. And I thought that was a great option. And unlike another company that made a clone of it later who made it a single action gun where you could rack it, decock it, but then if you actually wanted to fire it, you had to rack the slide partially again to fire it, which I thought was a stupid design. And a lot of people got all over me for thinking it was a stupid design, but I still think it's a stupid design. Unlike that gun, like I said, the P99 AS, you can pull that longer, heavier double action pull and still fire the gun for the first round without having to re-rack the slide because it is double action, single action to an extent. So that's awesome, having that versatility of a striker-fired gun that can be decocked and fired double action. So you can either carry it fully cocked and ready to go with a light striker-fired trigger, or you can decock it and have more of a double action, single action style first shot and have single action for every shot after that. That was just an amazing thing. Like I said, the clone of it was horrible, but having that double action trigger made this great. So it's a gun that I don't know why they got rid of. It was just such a great gun. It was a great looking gun too. I love the look of Walther's guns, and this was no exception. I think it was a very handsome gun. And like I said, very reliable. And not just reliable, like most Walthers are. And I'm not saying Walther, so shut up for people out there that are getting on me about the pronunciation. Like most Walthers out there, it was, like I said, reliable, great, and very versatile with that feature it had right there. So I loved this gun, was sad to see it go. I wish it would come back, but you know, Walther loves to cancel good guns. I mean, they're canceling the PPQ, so I don't know what their deal is. They love to cancel good guns. But this is one I definitely wish that would come back, and it is the Walther P99 AS, or anti-stress pistol. All right, everybody, now we are to number 1 on my list of guns that are no longer made for one reason or another, but I think should be brought back, or I wish were still being made. And here I'm going to cheat a little bit. And I'm going to lump a bunch of guns together. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I hadn't lumped them together, the guns from this number 1 position would be 5 through 1, and then some. I could have done a top 10 list with them probably. And what I'm talking about is the Night Guard series from Smith & Wesson. Now, if you're not familiar with the Night Guard series, it was a complete line of guns that Smith & Wesson did. They came in L frames, J frames, N frames. They had 7-shot 357 Magnum versions. They had 41 Magnum versions. They had 44 Magnum versions. They had 44 Special. Just all kinds of models, even a 10 millimeter. But they were all very similar. They all had scandium frames, scandium barrel shrouds, stainless cylinders, which were colored black with them like a melanite coating, and stainless barrels. And they all had 2.5-inch barrels. They were very much a carry gun, made to be very light with that scandium barrel shroud and scandium frame. And they all came with XS big dot front sights, tritium night sights, and they came with cylinder and slide combat style fixed rear sights, which were very nice. And I don't know why Smith & Wesson quit making these guns, because these were the pentultimum, or whatever that word is. I don't think I said it close to right just now, but I think you understand what I mean. These were the greatest carry revolvers I think were ever made as far as a series of carry revolvers are concerned. I mean, it was like, you know, like the 329 is now, but with a 2.5-inch barrel instead of a 2-inch barrel. And you could get it in like an 86 plus model, like a 686 plus model, but it was a 386 plus. Still with the stainless cylinder, stainless barrel, scandium frame, scandium barrel shroud. Like I said, and that continued throughout the entire line. And I don't know why they quit making this. This is some of the best carry revolvers ever, like I just said, and they just up and stopped all of them. Now the only scandium guns you can get are like the 329s and the small J frame with the 1 3/4 inch barrel, and the 327 with the 2-inch barrel. I would rather have these options with the 3-inch barrel. And plus, I think they looked better. Now, a lot of them don't have the titanium cylinders like the new models do, so they were not quite as light if they were equal sized, but I liked the stainless cylinders on them, and I liked the all-black design instead of, you know, the gray titanium cylinders. Although I love my 629 and my 329, I would still love to be able to get the Night Guard series, because one of those would end up being my carry gun. So on my list of guns that have been discontinued for one reason or another that I can't fathom in this case, that I wish would come back or still were being made, it's definitely the Night Guard series from Smith & Wesson. All right, everybody, that's my list of top 5 guns that are no longer made for one reason or another that I wish would either come back or were just still being made. So with that done, let's move on to our next segment here. And today we're going to do our viewer EDC of the day. And today we have Blake K. And as you can see, Blake K is carrying his Smith & Wesson 629 outside waistband in a Galco holster. Actually, it's a 629 Deluxe, as he made sure to point out to me in his email, to which I say, ooh la dee da. I guess that means he holds his pinky out when he shoots it. Actually, the Deluxe is a line from Smith & Wesson. It's kind of a step up from their basic line. It's kind of like between the basic line and the Performance Center. So, really nice gun. I love these guns. These are awesome, and I love to see someone carry this gun. I don't find that surprising at all. A lot of people be looking at this big gun and be like, oh, that's surprising. It doesn't surprise me because, you know, A lot of my viewers carry big guns. This is just one more example that proves, my viewers pretty much have the tiniest wieners in the game. Seems to be common, and don't make fun of me for carrying a 329. I'm the exception. Just so people out there know, and you can't prove any different. If anybody tells you any different, don't listen to them. They weren't supposed to tell anybody anyway. But getting back to the topic here, I'm not surprised at all someone would carry this big a gun. I'm actually surprised that I see a lot of kids' toys in this picture. You wouldn't think someone that carries that big of a gun would actually be making a lot of babies, but I guess people fool you. I guess it's not the size of the pen, it's the handwriting. It's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean and all those other stupid fucking things that people with tiny penises say to try to make themselves feel better about themselves. Not me, though. Not me. Other people say those things. Not that I'm self-conscious about it, and I'm not projecting, so stop that shit. Don't be accusing me of that. But just wanted to show him today, Blake K with his Smith & Wesson 629. He is our viewer EDC of the day, and he is carrying an awesome gun there, like I said, in his Galco holster. All right, everybody, we run a little long. That's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you come back again tomorrow. And until then, I just want to sign off as usual by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. It could be a lot worse, but it could still be better. And if we as a community start to ignore the fear mongers, the profiteers, the fake activists who want to do nothing but take your money while they pretend to fight for our rights, or the people who want to manipulate you through fear and anger to just get your money, if we start ignoring those people and keeping level heads about us and fighting smart and hard for our rights in this country, what things will be for people who value the Second Amendment and freedom in general in the very near future is better.